Hello, everyone. This is Ron, and I'm back with you with another episode of Empire Coins and Collectibles. We have a lot to talk about in a very, very short time, so let's go ahead and get to it. If you could, please like, share, and subscribe. That will help us immensely grow the channel. And we're all about sharing coin collecting and our little adventures that we have along the way. So speaking of little adventures, there's always a backstory. So here's the backstory on these 4 coins we're going to share with you. My brother and I were out prospecting quite a while ago, and a lady said that she had some cards, were sports cards actually, is what they were, for sale. So what we decided to do was make arrangements with her to come and look at the sports cards. And when we got over there were lots and lots of sports cards. But along the way, we didn't immediately go there. I was with my brother the entire weekend, got there Friday evening and stayed through Sunday morning. And our appointment was late Saturday afternoon. So before we went over there, we went to thrift stores, we went to coin shops, we went to antique malls, looking to see what we could find. And more specifically, as you know, I'm always on the lookout for coins. Well, didn't find any at the antique mall, certainly none at the thrift store, but I did find some, imagine this, at a sports card shop. And it was over in Plano, Texas. We always go there to pick up our supplies. And of course, we look at the cards that they've got certified there. And I knew that they had coins in the back of the shop. So I made a beeline back there and began smoking over those coins that were in the trays and in the boxes. And what I found was something that is kind of unique, not really, really expensive, something you could look for or even buy for your own collection. And these are Buffalo nickels with unique mint marks. We're talking about repunched mint marks that happen to be on the die. So let's go ahead and take a look and change the cameras, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And then we'll go to the microscope with each one. So the first one, it's a 1938 D over S. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one under the microscope, and we'll take a quick look at it. Actually, we'll take a detailed look at it. So we're going to go over to the coin microscope, and you should be seeing it. Now, obviously, this coin looks like it's been well circulated. And I'll get my little toothpick out. It's got good detail, but there's been a lot of wear around here. But what we're really interested is down here with the mint mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the lights, and I'm going to come down a little lower, and we'll kind of tour around the coin just to see if there's anything more on this coin that might be interesting. And we can see a little bit of something to the edge back over here, but there's something that looks like it's inside that D. And that is characteristic of the D over S mint mark. As a matter of fact, there were no S minted Buffalo nickels made during this year. And they believe that some of the planchets that were struck, the dies were reused, and with the D engraved on them or punched on the dies, they then had these double markings on them with respect to a D over an S. So let's see, is there anything else we need to look at? A little bit of dirt and maybe a little bit of corrosion up in here, not too bad. But not really. Not really. So let's go lower on the D. See if we can see what is about this mint mark. Does it really have an S somewhere hidden in there? And notice this little tab down here inside the D. That's also characteristic. And then if you see, starting up here in the inside curve of the D and then moving out, you can kind of see that S back behind the D. Let's go even lower. Hopefully I can keep the light on it. We'll get the light readjusted, and then we'll bring it back into focus. Yes, you can see it really good now. look at this curve, the lower curve of the S. It looks like it starts up here in the top part of the D, goes to the outside a bit, and then swings back in. So we certainly can see that. I'm going to go even lower and see if we can keep the light so that we can see it pretty good. I'm going to center it up. We can certainly see that curve of the S right there. So this is a D over S mint mark. And you know, the interesting thing about this, there are a number of these produced, so they're not real expensive. They do get a little bit pricey, but not too bad if you get a mint state example, and they are out there. You can find mint state examples of this D over S, and if they're certified, they probably sell anywhere from $100 to $125, $40, depending on how high up in the mint state they go. All right, let's kind of flip it over since we're real close. Let's look at the averse. And there's not anything that, let me back that back off. There's not anything really interesting that I initially in my pre-look had of this coin. So let's see. Now we can see some scratches on it, right? We can see a lot of dirt where it's been well handled, but nothing more. Okay, I'm going to go back to the camera, the tray camera. So that was really interesting. We saw the S, the D over S in this particular coin. Now, obviously, you won't be able to see it here, but I'm fighting with this coin. There it is with this camera. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one is a D over D. So let's take a look at it and see if we can get it into focus. Yeah, that one focused pretty easily. But it's a D over D, and you can almost see something going on with the D down at the bottom there. So let's go ahead and change camera views. We're going to go to the microscope, and I'm going to raise it up to get a complete view of the coin and bring it back into focus so we can just see what its overall state is. And that's pretty good, isn't it? So I'm just looking at it in its entirety. And remember, we always want to interrogate the coin. And look at how rough the edge is here. Now, just to share with you, this coin didn't cost me a whole lot. This coin cost me $3. Now, that might be a combination of its state, but it also might have been a combination of where I found it and a sports card shop that was selling a small amount of coins. But nothing real interesting other than the mint mark. Okay, so let's go down. We're going to go down and see if we can bring it back into focus. Yeah, now even at this level, we can see on the outer edge of that D and then on the inside some remnants of the D behind it that was stamped first. Let's take it down a little lower. And we can see it right there. Okay. You can see that clearly, right? So this is a D over D. Interesting, isn't it? So now let's flip it over. And since I'm not too far out off the top, we'll just kind of tool around on the averse and see if there's anything there. No, not really. Again, it's well worn. It's got dirt on it, of course. All right, let's go back to the reverse. So I am pleased with finding this example. You know what you do from a collector standpoint, you find the example of the error, and if you find it and it's a kind of a worn coin, you put it in your collection to hold the position. And then later on, you're always looking to improve upon it by getting a finer coin. And here again, we can see that D that's actually to the west of the top D. A little bit of dirt there at the top, might be a little bit of corrosion. But you can see it really clearly. And on the inside, on the inside of that D, you can now begin to see the inside of the second D. Very interesting. Can we go even lower? I think we can. Let's get it back in focus. And clearly, this D is visible at this level. Okay, all fine and dandy. You know, there is something else that appears to be going on. And notice, of course, I'm not going to claim it's anything fine, makes it really expensive, but you can see some shadowing. Let's move the light around. Look at the E and the V here. Look at the side of the V. Look at that side of the E. Look at that side of the C. And it really is straight across in the lettering, 5 cents. Now, is that an example of machine doubling? Maybe. Maybe. But it could be how the actual lettering was sculpted. But I'm looking at that E. It looks really interesting from that standpoint. Perhaps some sculpting or perhaps some machine doubling. Okay, that's enough with this coin. Now, this next buffalo is really interesting. I did a quick look. I didn't do a thorough look, but I didn't see in PCGS's coin facts, I didn't see this one. It's probably out there. It's a 1936 S over S, right? So before we go look at that, I wonder if I can share my screen. I thought I would be able to bring up PCGS, but you can look at it or you can go to NGC and see if you can identify one of these as 1936S. Now, let me pull up what I can do is I can pull it up on my phone. This right here in the upper part of the phone, if it will focus, this is PCGS, and you can't really see it, coin facts. So I'm going to pull up the 36S, and I don't see any 36S over S's. It just doesn't list it. Doesn't list it. So there's the 36, 36D, 36D with 3.5 legs, 36S. But you notice down here, let's go back in. You notice down here at the bottom, will it focus there? It does show the 36D over, the 38D over S and the 38D over D. So this looks like a 36S over S. I want you to be the judge of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it under the coin microscope. We're going to raise it up. Now, you can already tell there is something under that S. Look at that S, still nicely defined. But I want you to look at the lower curve of the S. I guess that's going into the serif. Watch that as we begin to lower the coin microscope. Try to keep it centered up with good light on it. Bring it back into focus. Now, what are you seeing? You're seeing this curve out of the S on the bottom curving over to the left. That's pretty phenomenal, isn't it? Let's take it even lower. And if you're looking at that, you can see that lower curvature of another S. Now, let's speculate as to what it might be. Is it really an S over S? I'm taking it lower. It looks like it, doesn't it? Now, one could say, well, this big, thick crossbar right there, that's a blob, and the real regular S, it starts up here at this and ends down here at the lower part of that serif. That would make that S extraordinarily large. I don't think that's it. I believe there is an S under this S right there. What do you think? Have I found a treasure? I'm going to pull out one of my books after we get off camera here, and I'm going to double check it. I'm going to go on to NGC. Maybe you can go on to NGC, our PCGS, and see if they've certified any of this. I'm going to go a little lower, and we'll see if we can't get an even better view. Now, what do you think? To me, it looks like an S. Let's go lower. I don't believe there's any doubt. I think that's an S over S for this 1936 Buffalo nickel. What do you guys think? All right. Tell me your thoughts down in the comments section. Shoot me an email to Empire Coins and Collectibles, and let's open up a dialogue about this. I think it's a pretty phenomenal find. Again, it did not cost me all that much. I'm going to go back to the trade camera, and we've got one last coin to share with you. And I don't think I need to put this one under the coin microscope because it's pretty evident. I picked this jewel up as I was going through the box of buffaloes. Now, notice the orientation of the staples. When I flipped the coin over, I said, whoa, this is a rotated die. Isn't that phenomenal? I wonder how many of these coins you've handled and you weren't looking for any rotation whatsoever and you missed it. I still miss some. I'll go through my old coins that I've already checked once or twice and find rotated coins, rotated dies. What do you think about that? That's pretty interesting. Not a very expensive coin unless you had a major die rotation, somewhere around 11 o'clock position. That would be pretty phenomenal, or the 1 o'clock position. Okay, we're going to go back to the main camera and we're going to do a wrap up. So I hope you found this pretty interesting. We had three different types of mint mark varieties. Two of them were 1938, a D over D and a D over S. And then we had a 1936, which certainly looks like an S over S for me. And then, of course, we had the not so rare, but always fun to find, the rotated dies Buffalo, the 1924. If you have any thoughts on any of these, again, please leave it down below in the comments. And with that, my friends, I'm going to leave it with you. You take care, and please always remember, if you're not out there looking, you're not finding. All the best.